The old Victorian mansion had always stood on the hill overlooking the small town, an imposing presence that seemed to cast a shadow over the surrounding streets. Its weathered gray stones and turrets gave it an eerie appearance, and over the years, rumors had spread that the house was haunted. The stories were plentiful. Some people claimed to have seen strange lights flickering in the windows at night, while others reported hearing eerie whispers and moans drifting from within the walls. Children often dared each other to sneak onto the property and peek through the overgrown shrubbery that surrounded the house, hoping to catch a glimpse of the ghostly apparitions that were said to haunt the property. Despite the rumors, no one had ever really investigated the house to find out the truth behind the tales. That is, until a young couple named Sarah and Mark decided to buy the property and restore it to its former glory. At first, everything seemed to be going well. The couple spent countless hours and a small fortune repairing the house, painting the walls, and refurbishing the old furniture. They were determined to make the mansion a beautiful and welcoming home, and their hard work paid off. But soon after they moved in, strange things began to happen. Doors would creak open and slam shut on their own, despite being securely latched. The couple often heard strange noises coming from the walls, as if something was moving around inside them. And in the middle of the night, they would be awoken by the sound of footsteps echoing through the empty halls. At first, Sarah and Mark tried to brush off the strange occurrences as being nothing more than their imaginations. But as the days went on, the occurrences became more frequent and more intense. The couple began to feel like they were being watched constantly, as if something was lurking just beyond their line of sight. One day, Sarah was home alone when she heard a loud crash coming from upstairs. She cautiously climbed the stairs, heart pounding, to investigate. As she reached the top of the stairs, she saw something that made her blood run cold. A large painting that had hung on the wall had fallen to the floor, its frame shattered into pieces. But the eerie thing was that the painting had been of a previous owner of the house, a woman who had died under mysterious circumstances. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was trying to communicate with her, and she decided to investigate the history of the house. She found that the mansion had been owned by a wealthy family in the early 1900s, but tragedy had struck when the daughter of the family had died suddenly in the house. The daughter's death had been shrouded in mystery, and many people had whispered that it had been the result of foul play. As Sarah delved deeper into the history of the house, she uncovered a dark and sinister past. There were rumors of secret rooms and passages hidden within the walls, and stories of strange rituals that had taken place on the property. With each new discovery, the occurrences in the house grew more intense. The couple began to fear for their safety, and they decided to sell the property and move away. But as they prepared to leave, they realized that something was blocking their way. They could feel an unseen force holding them back, as if the house itself was unwilling to let them go. In a desperate attempt to escape, the couple fled through the front door and ran down the hill as fast as they could. As they reached the bottom of the hill, they heard a loud crashing noise behind them. When they turned to look, they saw that the old Victorian mansion had collapsed in on itself, as if the dark secrets of its past had finally caught up with it. To this day, the couple refuses to talk about their experiences in the haunted house. They moved far away and never looked back, trying to put the memories of the strange occurrences and the dark history of the house behind them. But the townspeople never forgot about the mansion on the hill. In fact, the property was left abandoned for years, and some brave souls tried to investigate the property on their own. They reported seeing strange apparitions and hearing strange noises, confirming that the rumors of the house being haunted were true. Eventually, the town decided to demolish the house, and a crew was sent in to remove the remains of the old Victorian mansion. But even as they worked to tear down the old stone walls and remove the debris, strange things continued to happen. The workers reported seeing ghostly figures moving through the rubble, and they heard strange whispers and moans coming from the piles of bricks and stone. Some of the workers even claimed to have been physically touched by unseen forces, leaving them shaken and terrified. It was as if the spirits of the past were fighting back against the destruction of the house, unwilling to let go of their hold on the property. The old mansion on the outskirts of town had always been a source of intrigue for locals. Rumors had circulated for years that the house was haunted, with strange noises and unexplainable occurrences reported by anyone brave enough to venture inside. As a young reporter eager for a story, I decided to investigate the claims of paranormal activity firsthand. I reached out to the owner of the mansion, a wealthy businessman who had inherited the property from his grandfather. He was reluctant to speak about the house, but eventually agreed to give me a tour on the condition that I not reveal his identity. As soon as I stepped inside the mansion, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air was thick with an eerie silence that made me feel as though I was being watched. The interior was beautiful, but faded, with antique furniture covered in dust and cobwebs. As we walked through the house, the owner told me about the strange occurrences that had plagued the mansion for years. Doors would slam shut on their own. Footsteps could be heard on the stairs even when no one was there, and objects would move without explanation. But the most unsettling story was that of a ghostly figure that appeared in one of the upstairs bedrooms. The owner led me up the grand staircase and into the room where the ghost was said to have appeared. As we entered, I immediately felt a wave of dread wash over me. The room was freezing cold, despite the fact that it was a warm summer day. The air was thick with an overwhelming sense of sadness. Suddenly, I heard a faint whisper. I turned to the owner, but he hadn't said anything. The whisper grew louder, until it sounded like a woman's voice calling out for help. I turned to run, but the door slammed shut, trapping us inside. The room began to shake violently, as though an earthquake was happening. The walls cracked, the floorboards creaked, and the furniture shook. I clung to the owner in terror, certain that we were about to be swallowed up by the house. Just as suddenly as it began, the shaking stopped. The room was silent once again, and the door slowly creaked open. We stumbled out into the hallway, shaken but unharmed. I fled the mansion as fast as I could, certain that I had just experienced something truly supernatural. As I drove away, I couldn't help but wonder about the history of the mansion and the ghostly presence that haunted its halls. Years later, I discovered that the mansion had been built in the early 1900s by a wealthy industrialist. He had lost his wife and daughter in a tragic accident and was said to have become obsessed with contacting their spirits. He built the mansion as a way to communicate with them from beyond the grave. But his efforts had unintended consequences. The more he tried to contact his loved ones, the more the mansion became a magnet for other spirits. Over the years, dozens of people had reported ghostly encounters in the house. The mansion still stands today, a decrepit and forgotten relic of a bygone era. But those who dare to enter its halls are said to still feel the presence of the spirits that linger within. In the small town of Hinsdale, New York, there stands a house that has been the source of terror for many generations. The house has seen countless families come and go, but none have been able to stay for long due to the strange occurrences that happen within its walls. The locals call it the Hinsdale House, and its haunted reputation has made it a popular destination for paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers alike. The Hinsdale House was built in 1857 by a wealthy businessman named Asa Ransom. It was a grand and imposing structure, with 3 stories and a basement. It boasted a ballroom, a chapel, and several bedrooms, but it also had a dark past. It was said that Ransom had made a deal with the devil in order to amass his fortune, and that the house was cursed as a result. The first family to move into the Hinsdale House were the Dandys in the 1970s. They were a family of 6, and they were excited to move into such a grand and historic home. But their excitement soon turned to fear when they began experiencing strange occurrences. Doors would slam shut on their own, objects would move without explanation, and they could hear voices whispering in the dark. The family soon realized that they were not alone in the Hinsdale House. They believed that the spirits of Asa Ransom and his family still lingered within the walls, seeking revenge for the deal that had been made with the devil. The Dandys tried to leave the house, but they found that they could not. It was as if the house had a hold on them, and they were trapped within its walls. As the years went by, the Hinsdale House became infamous for its paranormal activity. Numerous families tried to live in the house, but none of them could stay for long. The spirits seemed to be growing stronger, and their malevolent energy was becoming more intense. In 2009, a team of paranormal investigators known as the Paranormal Society of Western New York decided to investigate the Hinsdale house. They believed that they could help the spirits move on and bring peace to the house. But they soon realized that they had bitten off more than they could chew. The investigators experienced terrifying encounters with the spirits of the Hinsdale house. They could hear disembodied voices and footsteps, and they could see objects moving on their own. Some members of the team even claimed to have been physically attacked by unseen forces. The Paranormal Society of Western New York eventually concluded that the Hinsdale house was one of the most haunted places they had ever encountered. They believed that the house was home to multiple spirits, including the ghosts of Asa Ransom and his family, as well as other entities that had been attracted to the dark energy of the house. Today, the Hinsdale house remains a popular destination for paranormal investigators and thrill seekers. It is said that the spirits within the house are still active, and that they will continue to haunt the house for many years to come. The house stands as a testament to the power of the paranormal, and it serves as a warning to those who dare to make deals with the devil.